on the way to confront my husband about. The woman he kept visiting, my son and I, were in a car accident. When we woke up, parts of our memories were gone. My husband, Dr. Ethan Parker, was a clinical psychologist. After the accident, he did not stay with us for long. Instead, he spent most of his time accompanying Lily Hart, his high school first love, and her daughter Mia on therapeutic trips around the world. When Noah and I finally recovered our memories, then discovered something unexpected. We had become quiet, well-behaved, almost painfully independent. At first, he looked pleased. He thought he had achieved the perfect balance until Christmas Eve, when he went to keep Lily and Mia company again. Came home late and heard Noah and me talking behind the door. Mom, Noah asked, is this that man really? My dad? Why does it feel weird every time I call him dad? I nodded slowly. I think it feels strange to me too. He doesn't seem like the kind of man I would like. I don't understand why I married him. Noah's eyes brightened with mischief. Mom, your type is Mr. Walker, right? Every time he sees you after school, his ears turn red, and he always finds excuses to drive us home. I think he has a chance. My face warmed before I could answer. Then Noah leaned close to my ear and whispered in a voice that was not nearly as quiet as he thought. Mom, why don't we just get a new dad? That night was not where everything began. It began earlier over dinner. Noah and I were sitting at the table, sweating happily over 2 orders of extra spicy chicken wings. Our lips were glossy with sauce. The air smelled like pepper, garlic, and fried chicken. Then a familiar, yet strangely distant voice sounded behind us. You didn't wait for me. Noah and I both jumped. We turned around and saw a handsome man standing in the doorway, cold air clinging to his dark coat. His eyes, his brows, even the curve of his jaw looked a little like Noah's. Ethan Parker, my husband, Noah's father. He walked in and saw the wings on the table. His brows tightened. 6 years of marriage. Claire, you still don't remember. I have stomach problems and can't eat spicy food. Noah was chewing on a wing. He blinked and answered honestly. We didn't order any for you. These are ours. And froze. I gave a dry little laugh and tried to smooth things over. I saw your post. You were at the amusement park with Lily and Mia. I thought you would be eating with them. Claire. Bennett. He cut me off. His tone carried the familiar impatience I had once feared. I already explained this. Lily and Mia were abandoned by her husband. Lily's condition was serious. I'm a doctor. I'm fulfilling my responsibility. Then his eyes turned sharper. And you as a wife and a mother, you came to my workplace and made a scene. You taught Noah to be jealous and suspicious. His voice dropped. Was the accident still not enough to make you reflect? Memories rolled back like a cold tide. I remembered finding out that the person Ethan had been monitoring day and night was not just a patient at his high school first love. I had taken Noah to the clinic to confront him. Ethan had only pulled us aside with a tired expression. I didn't tell you because I knew you would overthink it. As a doctor, abandoning a patient would be irresponsible. Don't make trouble in front of my patient and don't drag Noah into this. His calm voice made Noah and me look unreasonable by comparison. After that, I hired someone to stand outside his clinic with a harsh sign, accusing Lee of breaking into a married man's life. Noah, still too young to understand the weight of his words, repeated hurtful things at school and told other children not to play with Mia. Later, Lily and Mia had an emotional crisis. Ethan was furious, forced me to apologize. He used every connection he had. I lost my job. Noah became isolated. At kindergarten, I broke down completely and threatened divorce. Only then did Ethan give in. He promised he would keep proper distance from them. Noah and I believed him. We had even planned a 5th anniversary trip. We counted down the days to Ethan's rare vacation. On the day we went to the hospital to pick him up, he received only one cold phone call Emergency business trip. The vacation is postponed. Noah and I left the hospital in a daze. Then around the corner, we heard Ethan's colleagues laughing as they chatted. Dr. Parker is really devoted to Miss Hart. He took 6 months off just to accompany her and her daughter through their recovery trip. I heard he's already on the way to the airport, personally escorting them. Apparently, my ears rang, felt as though a piece of my chest had been carved away. Before my tears fell, I saw Noah looking up at me with a pale little face. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Mom, he asked in a trembling voice, does Dad really not want us anymore? That sentence shattered the last thread of reason I had. I took Noah's hand and ran after Ethan. We needed an answer. We needed him to explain. Did he still want this family or not? But before we caught up, the accident happened. When we woke up, the world had been wiped clean, except for each other. Noah and I no longer remembered Ethan, and Ethan, taking advantage of that silence, set us aside. The memory faded. Noah and I looked at each other awkwardly. Our memories had returned, but the feelings had not. In fact, neither of us could understand why the old versions of ourselves had been so desperate. So we promised Ethan again and again that we truly would not do that anymore. We would not interfere with him and Lily. Ethan's face darkened. Instead, after a long moment, he resumed his usual controlled expression. I'm taking Lily and Mia to Forest Park tomorrow for therapeutic time outdoors. Prepare lunch for 3. Then he looked at Noah. Noah, make an extra copy of your class notes for Mia. He turned to leave, then added lightly, I hope you mean what you said. Don't do anything embarrassing. Again, the bedroom door closed. Noah and I stared at each other. Then we shrugged. At the same time, I took out my phone and ordered a luxury picnic delivery for the 3 of them. Noah politely messaged his teacher and asked for a backup set of class materials. As for tomorrow, we had already made plans to go hiking with Mr. Walker, who had time to worry about them. The next morning was a Saturday, crisp and flooded with golden autumn light. Noah and I were up early, dressed in our hiking gear, by the time Ethan emerged from the guest bedroom where he had been sleeping since the accident. To ensure my restful recovery, the doorbell was already ringing. I opened it to find a delivery courier holding a massive, triple-tiered insulated picnic basket from Le Petit Jardin, the most expensive French bistro in the city. Delivery for Claire, the courier said. I tipped him and brought the heavy basket inside, setting it on the kitchen island just as Ethan walked in. He was dressed in a pristine, tailored casual wear ensemble that looked entirely inappropriate for a forest, complete with suede loafers. He looked at the basket, his brows pulling together. What is that? He asked, his voice rough with sleep. Your lunch for 3, I said lightly, tossing the receipt on the counter. Roasted duck, wraps, truffle potato salad, and a gluten-free fruit tart for Mia. I even ordered a thermos of Earl Grey tea for Lily. Enjoy your therapeutic outdoors. Dr. Parker. Ethan stared at the basket, then at me. His jaw tightened. The old Claire would have woken up at 5 a.m., slaving over a hot stove to prepare handmade sushi rolls and cute bento boxes, hoping to earn a crumb of his approval. The old Claire would have cried while packing it. You bought it, he stated, as if trying to process a glitch in the matrix. You said prepare lunch. It's prepared, I smiled, grabbing my own lightweight backpack. Noah came bounding down the stairs, wearing his favorite hiking boots, a perfectly organized binder in his hands. Dad, Noah said, his tone entirely polite, devoid of any childish longing. Here are the backup notes for Mia. I highlighted the parts she missed in math. He handed the binder to Ethan. Ethan took it. Mechanically, he looked at us, taking in our matching outdoor gear. Where are you 2 going? He demanded, a sudden edge in his voice. If you think leaving the is going to make me feel guilty and cancel my plans with Lily, you're mistaken, Claire. I laughed. It wasn't a bitter laugh. It was a genuine Bubbling sound of amusement. Ethan, we aren't trying to make you feel anything. We're going hiking at Silver Peak. Have a great day with your patients. Before he could say another word, I took Noah's hand and we walked out the front door. Mr. Walker, Julian, was waiting for us. At the trailhead, he was leaning against his beat-up but well-loved Subaru, wearing a faded flannel shirt and rugged boots. When he saw us, his face broke into a smile that reached his eyes, and just as Noah had pointed out, the tips of his ears turned a faint, endearing shade of red. Morning, Claire. Morning, Noah, he called out, tossing a water bottle to Noah, who caught it with a grin. Morning, Mr. Walker. Noah chirped. Off the clock, bud. It's Julian today. He winked, then looked at me. His gaze lingered for a second, warm and appreciative. You look ready to conquer the mountain. I feel like it. I breathed, realizing with a sudden shock that it was true. For years there had been a heavy, suffocating weight on my chest. It had vanished in the wreckage of the car accident, and returning to my memories hadn't brought it back. The trauma of loving Ethan Parker had been erased, leaving only the cold, hard facts of who he was. And facts were easy to walk away from. The hike was perfect. Julian was funny, observant, and naturally attentive. When Noah tripped over a root, Julian didn't lecture him to be more careful. He just scooped the boy up by his armpits, swung him over the obstacle, and made a joke about Forrest Gump. When we stopped, Julian pulled out simple ham and cheese sandwiches, but he had remembered that Noah hated mayo and that I loved extra pickles. How did you know? I asked, holding up my sandwich. Julian rubbed the back of his neck, looking bashful. Noah talks about you a lot, and I pay attention. My heart did a strange, fluttery thing that it hadn't done in nearly a decade. I looked at my son, who was munching happily on a granola bar, entirely relaxed. There was no anxiety in his eyes, no fear of saying the wrong thing and setting off a lecture about emotional dysregulation. We didn't get home until past 7 p.m. We were dirty, exhausted, and laughing hysterically because Julian had tried to show us how to skip stones across the lake and had ended up slipping into the shallow water. When I unlocked the front door, the laughter died in my throat. The house was completely dark save for the living room lamp. Ethan was sitting in the armchair, still in his suede loafers. The expensive French picnic basket sat on the coffee table, half-eaten and looking sad. Ethan stood up as we entered. The smell of cedar, sweat, and fresh air radiating from us seemed to offend him. He looked at the mud on Noah's boots and the flesh on my cheeks. Where have you been? He asked, his voice low, vibrating with a tightly coiled anger. It is pitch black outside. Do you know how irresponsible it is to take a child into the mountains? Until this hour, we had flashlights, Noah said matter-of-factly, kicking off his boots. And Julian knows the trail like the back of his hand. I'm going to shower, Mom. Noah ran upstairs without waiting for Ethan's permission. Ethan stared after him, his eye twitching. Julian, he repeated. Who the hell is Julian? Julian Walker, Noah's teacher, I said, slipping off my jacket. I walked into the kitchen to pour myself a glass of water. Ethan followed me, his presence looming, trying to cast the shadow of authority he used to wield so effectively. You spent the entire Saturday with Noah's teacher? Ethan's voice dripped with condescension. Claire, are you completely devoid of boundaries? How's that look to the school? And what were you trying to prove? I leaned against the counter, taking a slow sip of water. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was handsome, yes, but he looked exhausted. There were dark circles under his eyes. There was a smear of something that looked like chocolate on the cuff of his expensive shirt, likely Mia's. Doing. How was your trip with Lily? I asked calmly, completely ignoring his interrogation. The question threw him off balance. He blinked, the anger faltering for a second. It was fine. It was highly beneficial for her nervous system. Good. Did she like the truffle potato salad? Ethan's jaw clenched. She found it too heavy. She had a minor panic attack near the lake because she remembered her ex-husband used to take her fishing. I had to spend 3 hours walking her through grounding exercises. Wow, I said, setting my glass down. Sounds like you had your hands full. You must be tired. I'm going to take a bath. I walked past him. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't accuse him of choosing her over us. I didn't care that. He spent 3 hours holding another woman's hand by a lake. Ethan grabbed my arm as I passed. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to stop me. His eyes searched my face looking for the desperation, the jealousy, the frantic wife he was so accustomed to managing. He found nothing but a placid, mildly annoyed void. Why are you acting like this? He demanded, a genuine trace of unease leaking into his tone. Like what? Ethan? Like a stranger. You ordered a delivery lunch. You went out all day. You don't even care what happened at the park. Ethan, I said gently, removing his hand from my arm. Before the accident, my caring drove you crazy. It made me unreasonable and suspicious. I have reflected just as you asked. I am no longer dragging Noah into your business. You wanted perfect boundaries? You have. Now, if you'll excuse me, I smell like a forest. I left him standing in the kitchen, completely paralyzed. The shift in our dynamic didn't just rattle Ethan. It slowly began to dismantle him. A narcissist doesn't want you to leave, but they don't want to love you either. They just want you to stay in the corner, starved and begging for their scraps so they can feel like a god. By removing my emotional reaction, I had starved him. Over the next month, Ethan started coming home earlier. It started subtly. He would arrive in time for dinner, expecting to sit at the head of the table, but I had stopped cooking his specific bland diet. If Noah and I wanted spicy Thai food, we ordered it. If we wanted tacos, we made them. Ethan would stare at his plate of jalapeno-laden food waiting for me to apologize and offer to make him some oatmeal. Instead, I would just pass the salsa. He ended up ordering a lot of takeout for himself. He also started noticing Julian's presence in our lives. It was mid-November, the week of the school science fair. Noah had been building a complex water filtration model. Julian had come over twice to help him safely cut the PVC pipes. When Ethan found out another man had been in his garage using his tools with his son, he lost his temper. I am his father, Ethan had shouted, standing in the middle of the living room while Noah was upstairs. I could have helped him with the project. You were on a 3-day weekend retreat with Lily, I pointed out, without looking up from my laptop. She needed a change of scenery to process her abandonment trauma, remember? Ethan choked on his own words. I would have made time. He got an A, Ethan. The project is done. The night of the science fair, Ethan insisted on coming. He canceled a therapy session with Lily to be there, which apparently caused a massive argument between them, judging by the dozen missed calls lighting up his phone screen while we walked through the school gymnasium. Ethan walked slightly ahead of Noah and me, his posture stiff, trying to project the image of the proud, involved patriarch. But it was a farce, and everyone saw through it. When we reached Noah's booth, Julian was already there, chatting with another parent. Julian's face lit up when he saw Noah. Hey, engineer, great job today. Julian gave Noah a high five. Ethan stepped in smoothly, extending to Julian. The doctor persona was fully activated. Charming, slightly arrogant, dominating. You must be Mr. Walker. I'm Dr. Ethan Parker, Noah's father. Thank you for assisting him while I was occupied with my practice. Julian shook his hand, his grip firm. Julian's eyes flicked to me, then back to Ethan. His smile didn't waver, but it cooled slightly. Nice to meet you, Dr. Parker. Noah did all the hard work. He's a brilliant kid. He's got his mother's knack for problem solving. Ethan's smile tightened. Yes. Well, we Parkers pride ourselves on our intellect. He turned to Noah. So Noah, a volcano model? Very classic. The silence that fell over the four of us was deafening. Noah stared at his father, Then he pointed to the massive, clearly labeled PVC pipe contraption in front of him. It's a water filtration system, Dad. I haven't done a volcano since the 2nd grade. I'm in 5th grade now. Ethan froze. A few parents nearby who had heard the exchange turned to look, their expressions shifting to polite pity. Ethan's face flushed a dark, mottled red. He opened his mouth to salvage the situation, but Julian smoothly intervened. It's a common mistake, Dr. Parker, Julian said, though his eyes were sharp. Kids grow up fast. Miss a few months and you miss a whole era. Noah, why don't you show your dad how the charcoal layer works? Ethan didn't stay long after that. He claimed he had a work emergency. In reality, I saw him speed walking to the parking lot, his phone already pressed to his ear, likely calling Lily to find a safe haven for his bruised ego. Julian stood beside me, watching him go. Are you okay? He asked softly. I'm perfectly fine, I said, and meant it. He doesn't know him, Julian said, his voice laced with a quiet, simmering anger. He doesn't know his own son. He doesn't know me either, I said. I looked up at Julian. But you do. Julian swallowed hard, the tips of his ears turning pink. Again, I'm trying to, Claire. I really am. The breaking point for Ethan came the week before Christmas. I had spent weeks quietly organizing my life. The accident had given me a settlement. I had secured a new, excellent job at a marketing firm, a job I had previously turned down because Ethan complained the hours would disrupt his home environment. I had quietly separated our finances, and I had hired a very, very good lawyer. On a Tuesday evening, the doorbell rang. Ethan was home, sitting on the couch, rubbing his temples. Lily had been increasingly demanding lately. Without my hysterical jealousy to validate her victimhood, she had started creating new crises to keep Ethan's attention, and the constant emotional vampire act was draining him. I'll get it. Ethan sighed, standing up. I stared at the kitchen island, sipping a glass of wine. I heard the door open. A man's voice said, Dr. Ethan Parker? Yes. You've been served. I heard the dull thud of a thick manila envelope hitting the entryway table, followed by the door closing. Ethan walked back into the living room, holding the envelope, a confused frown on his face. He tore it open. I watched him read the first page. I watched his eyes dart back and forth, reading the words petition for dissolution of marriage. I watched his face go pale, then ash gray, then dark red. What is this? He whispered, looking up at me. It's exactly what it looks like, Ethan. You filed for divorce? His voice cracked. He threw the papers onto the coffee table. Are you insane? Is this another one of your stunts, Claire? You think because you're playing this cold, distant game that I'm going to chase you? I am a clinical psychologist. I know what a cry for attention looks like. It's not a cry for attention, Ethan. It's a legal document. I want you out of the house by the end of the month. He marched into the kitchen, slamming his hands down on the island, leaning over me. He tried to use his size to intimidate me, but I didn't flinch. I just took another sip of wine. You can't divorce me, he hissed. We have a son. Noah will be fine. Actually, he'll be better than fine. He already treats you like a distant uncle. This is because of that teacher, isn't it? Ethan yelled, his mask of composure completely shattering. You're having an affair. You're projecting your guilt onto me. I laughed. Ethan, Julian, and I have never even kissed, but the fact that you immediately jumped to an affair is incredibly telling. No, I am divorcing you because I don't love you anymore. When I lost my memory, I lost my emotional attachment to you. And when I got it back, I realized you were never partner. You are a selfish, arrogant man who uses his medical degree to justify his emotional infidelity. You broke my heart a long time ago. The only difference now is that I'm not bleeding anymore. Ethan stared at me, his chest heaving. For the first time in 6 years, he looked terrified. He realized I wasn't bluffing. There were no tears in my eyes. There was no shaking in my voice. Lily, he stammered, trying to find his footing. Lily is just a patient. I told you I will establish boundaries. I don't care if you marry. Lily, I interrupted gently. I really, truly don't. You two deserve each other. She needs a savior, and you need someone to worship you. It's a perfect match. But I'm checking out of this clinic. The next few weeks were ugly, but only on his end. Ethan refused to sign the papers. He tried to play the role of the devoted husband. He bought me jewelry. He tried to take Noah to baseball games. Noah hates baseball. He even brought Lily over to our house, claiming it was a mediation session so Lily could apologize and clear the air to save our marriage. That was his biggest mistake. When Lily walked into my house, she looked entirely different from the fragile, broken bird Ethan always described. She wore a smug, subtle smirk. She sat on my couch, crossing her legs, playing with the hem of her cashmere sweater, a sweater I recognized from Ethan's credit card statement. Claire, I am so sorry if my trauma caused a rift between you and Ethan, Lily said, her voice dripping with sickly sweet poison. Ethan is just such a compassionate healer. I told him he shouldn't spend so much time with me, but he insisted I was his top priority. You must understand how hard it is for him carrying the weight of my survival. Ethan nodded solemnly, clearly thinking, this was a profound psychological breakthrough. Lily is taking a huge step by being here, Claire. Acknowledge her bravery. I looked at my phone. The voice memo app was recording safely. Hidden in my pocket. Lily, I said calmly, did Ethan's compassionate healing include him telling his colleagues he was personally escorting you to Paris for 6 months while his wife and son were recovering from a near-fatal car accident? Lily's smirk faltered. She glanced at Ethan. Well, the Paris trip was essential for my EMDR therapy. Is that why you've been posting photos of you two drinking champagne under the Eiffel Tower on your private Instagram account? I asked. I slid an envelope across the coffee table. My lawyer's private investigator had been very thorough. Glossy 8x10 photos spilled out. Ethan and Lily holding hands, Ethan kissing Lily's cheek, Ethan buying Lily a diamond bracelet. Ethan turned white. Lily gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. You spied on my patient, Ethan yelled, standing up. No, I gathered evidence for my divorce proceedings. I corrected. You see, Ethan, the medical board has very strict rules about doctors having romantic or physical relationships with their patients. It's an ethics violation, a severe one, especially when you bill her insurance for therapy while actually going on dates. The blood drained entirely from Ethan's face. Claire, you wouldn't. I don't have to. I smiled. My lawyer already submitted the file to the state licensing board yesterday. Lily jumped up from the couch. What does that mean? Ethan, what is she talking about? It means, I said, standing up and opening the front door, that your doctor is about to lose his medical license, which means he's going to lose his income. I hope your trauma is cured, Lily, because he won't be able to afford your cashmere sweaters anymore. Now get out of my house. The fallout was spectacular, and I watched it from a comfortable distance. The medical board launched a full investigation. When they audited Ethan's practice, they found that he had indeed been billing for therapy sessions while on luxury vacations with Lily. The scandal hit his clinic hard. His partners bought him out to save their own reputations, and his license was suspended pending a final hearing. Unsurprisingly, the moment Ethan was no longer a wealthy, prestigious doctor, Lily's trauma miraculously relocated. She left him for a real estate developer within 2 months, claiming Ethan's stress was triggering her anxiety. Ethan tried to come crawling back. He showed up at the house one rainy evening, looking disheveled, begging for forgiveness, crying that he had lost everything and that he finally realized I was the only one who truly loved him. Julian was there. He had come over to cook dinner for Noah and me. Julian didn't puff out his chest or try to fight Ethan. He simply stood behind me, a quiet, solid wall of support, his hand resting gently on the small of my back. You didn't lose everything, Ethan, I told him through the crack in the door. You threw it away because you thought it would always be waiting for you in the trash. Go home. Don't come back. Unless it's your scheduled weekend with Noah. I shut the door and locked it. A year later, the memory of Ethan Parker felt like a movie I had watched a long time ago. The divorce was finalized. Ethan had moved into a small apartment across town, working as an administrative consultant after losing his license. He saw Noah every other weekend, but their relationship remained polite and distant. Noah was thriving, no longer burdened by the impossible standards of a father who never really saw him. It was Christmas Eve again. The house smelled like cinnamon pine and roasting turkey. Noah was in the living room, aggressively stringing popcorn and cranberries while humming off-key carol. I was in the kitchen pulling a tray of extra spicy stuffed jalapenos out of the oven, two strong arms wrapped around my waist from behind, and a chin rested comfortably on my shoulder. Julian smelled like wood smoke and expensive cologne. They look amazing, he murmured, pressing a kiss to my cheek. But I might need a gallon of milk to survive them. You don't have to eat them if you can't handle the heat, Mr. Walker, I teased, turning around in his arms. I can handle anything as long as I'm with you, he smiled, his ears turning that familiar, lovely shade of red. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He didn't open it yet. He just held it between us, his eyes searching mine, full of hope, respect, and a love that was steady and deeply grounded. Noah and I had a talk, Julian said softly. He told me he thinks it's time we officially updated the roster, if you're amenable, of course. I looked from the box to Julian's warm eyes, and then peeked out into the living room. Noah was looking at us, grinning so hard his cheeks looked like they were going to split. He gave me a massive, enthusiastic thumbs up. I thought about the woman I used to be, the one crying in front of a clinic, begging a man to love her. I didn't recognize her anymore. The accident had wiped my memories, but surviving the aftermath had rebuilt my soul. I wrapped my arms around Julian's neck, pulling him close. I think, I whispered against his lips. That sounds like a perfect idea.